Blazor and why it is such a good thing, and how we can use it in our projects, and how it is beneficial for ourselves. So let's start. So today we are going to talk about a little bit about WebAssembly and what is Blazor and how does it work, and also we are going to talk about difference between Blazor server and Blazor client, and also we are going to do a little demo and get in touch with what is it really about. So before we go into learning about Blazor, suppose you are starting a new project, and like in GVO, most of the projects we do in .NET. We use .NET and C# for most of the projects. So, but if we are doing a project in .NET or C#, when we design the technology, when we take a decision about the technology we are going to use for the front end, we are considering a lot of factors, like how we are going to do testing and how we are going to integrate the back end and front end, and how the project structure will be, and likewise there are a lot of factors that we consider. However, at the end of the day, though we considering all these factors, most of the time we end up with JavaScript or some library, some JavaScript library. So JavaScript is good. We use it in many of our projects, and it is one of the most used languages, and we have libraries that we can use, and it's so flexible. But when we are doing a .NET based project, integrating a JavaScript with it, sometimes maybe we have to go through some workarounds, and we have to learn both the languages and so on. So there will be a learning curve, and we will be needing full stack developers, and if not, we need front end and back end separate teams, so which is expensive. And sometimes we have to have duplicate business logic, for example for validations and other stuff. Since we are using two languages, we have to write the same code in two languages in some of the cases. And considering about the debugging and the IDs we used, most of the time we have to use two IDs for the front end and for the back end. So that's why using Blazor for front end development is so easy, because we can do the front end and back end both using C#, and we can reuse the code and for the front end and back end, and the learning curve is not higher compared to using another language. So that's why using Blazor is easier when we code using C# and when we use .NET based technologies in our project. So before we learn about Blazor, let's see what WebAssembly is. So WebAssembly is a binary format language that can be used in modern web browsers, and it gives us near to native speeds. So with that, languages apart from JavaScript like C#, C++, and C, we can use those languages for web development because of this WebAssembly thing. So we can WebAssembly provides a compilation target for those languages, so developers can use those languages for front-end development and UI designs and all of that. And the best thing is, for that we do not need JavaScript, but if we want, we can run JavaScript alongside with WebAssembly. That means we can use both as we go on with the project. So we can be flexible with that and use the both technologies in our projects. Blazor is also a technology that uses this web assembly with C# for web development. So Blazor uses web assembly to run single page applications using .NET and C#. So with that, .NET developers can build their interactive web applications. That means the front end also using C#, and it's like React or Angular or like any other front end development library we use, but it's in C#, HTML and CSS. So if you like C# over JavaScript, this would be a best option for you. So Blazor has two hosting models. One is Blazor Web Assembly, or commonly known as client side, and the next one is Blazor Server. So Blazor Web Assembly, in Blazor Web Assembly or client side, the overall program runs on the browser itself. That means when a user visits the website, the whole app with the app, the dependencies we use and all of that are downloaded to the browser, and all things are run with the browser in the same process. So if event handling and all of that are run on the same process in the browser itself, no calls to the if you apart from the API calls to the backend, there will be no interaction with another server. But in Blazor Server, we have a separate server for the logic, and Blazor connects the browser and that server using signals. Means using a WebSocket, the Blazor creates a connection between those two, and when a user clicks something or when there is a change in the browser, using this signal connection, the change will be happen. So that's a small introduction about Blazor. So let's move into the demonstration. So let's start a project. Blazor app. So for you to be able to work with Blazor, you have to have Visual Studio latest version, that means 2019, and you have to have installed latest SDK version also. So as I said, these are the two hosting methods I told you. We have Blazor Server and Blazor Web Assembly. So in this demonstration, I will be focusing on Blazor Web Assembly, and I'll put this stick and I'll explain what is this about. And let's create a project. So with that ASP co-hosted tick put on, we get 3 projects. This is the default project we get, default projects we get. So apart from this client project, since I put that tick on, I get this server and the shared project also. Let's go through this project structure. So this client project is all about the web assembly, and all the things are happened in here. All the front-end related things are happened in here. So apart from that, we get this server application also with that. And in this shared application, shared project, we can have like common models, and if there are common classes that we have to use in both projects. So in Blazor, it is similar to the syntax is similar to Razor pages, and we have components in here, as you can see. Like if we go to the program.cs, this is the entry point. Here we have the service registrations and all those stuff in here. And you can see this is the root component as is app. If we go to that component, you can see there are different components, router, found, route weave. So these are the components. If we go there, we can see some of the components. So these are the components in Blazor. So to show you that, if we go to this index page, you can see there's a component called survey prompt, and this is that component. So if we create a component in Blazor, we can just use that name anywhere and use that component. Let's run the project. So this is the default application we get. So this is a single page application. So as you can see, this you can see the HTML code behind this from here, and this is this component. Is this one. So without using this IIS server to run this web application, I'll use another method, because if I use this IIS Express server, I would have to stop and run the server whenever I do a change, since that's time consuming. You can run the project using this. Watch. command. With that, you do not have to stop and run the server whenever you do a change. It would build itself. Okay. If you go to this main layout, you can see that we have an HTML page in here, and you can see it inherits this layout component base class. If you go there, you can see there's a property called body, and that is being used in here with an @ sign. So in Blazor, you can do data binding easily with this. So if you go to this counter page, so you can see this counter property is used inside this HTML syntax using this @ sign. And also we can have the code inside the same page, so you can move it into another page if you like it. And with this @code syntax, you can have the C# code and the HTML code here. So with this @page annotation, you can give the router path. So you can give the router path directly through this. So that's it about the syntax and the layout. And to start with, let's create a class. Let's create a racer component first. So this is the startup project, just to show you that it has this counter implementation and some data. Let's get updated. So okay, let's create a property. So as I said, you can directly use that property in here, and so you can use this component when using. We'll just replace this. You can directly use this component through its name. So just create a variable and just it in the, so you can see it's printed here. So that's how we do data binding. To show you how we do event binding. So So let's add a method. So you can call this method directly yeah. Let's not worry about the CSS syntax for a while, and you can see it's working. So you can directly call methods from here, and you can write the code in C# and you can easily access it from likewise. And so next we'll see how we are going to communicate between these components, between the parent and the child component. For that I'll make another component. And let's use that component in here. So you can directly pass parameters using this parameter syntax. You can declare the parameters you want to send to this component. Directly pass it from here. And if you want to like pass an event or do some event call from the event callback from the child component, So you can call this here. And you can pass So let's remove this. Sorry. Sorry, I didn't declare this as a parameter. So you can pass the parameters as well as events from parent class to the child class or vice versa using this parameter syntax. So you can see if we run this, it would work the same. So okay, now let's create a page. Erase a page called video report. And so add and also we add this to this navigation menu also, so we can edit it easily. You can have all the HTML syntax and the CSS you are normally using in Angular or React or any other project in here also. You can define this spacing, alignments and all that. A new page and let's add in this event in this parameter method I told you, you can pass parameters from parent class between the parent class and the child class only. So if you want to like pass data anywhere you want, like if you want to like use components anywhere you want, and you can pass data here and there using something called Blazor services. So to show you how that works, let's create a new folder. And create a house. So first you have to let's create add an attribute. And a method. So in this new page we made with the reports, suppose you have to you need a similar mechanism like we used here to reduce temperature manually. So to use this service, we have to first register the service in this program main method. Now we register this service, so we can inject this service in our project wherever, and we can use these functionalities and its values inside our project, and it will be like we can use it anywhere, and we can use that to pass data between components. So let me for that first. Hello.
Harsha, even when you use the services for data sharing,
Yeah.
it will work within a single browser tab, right? Just like the normal parent to child
Yeah,
parameter passing. I mean, it won't work across multiple browser tabs, right?
yeah, it won't work across multiple browser tabs. Like in this parent and child method, like if I use this same component, suppose I am using this counter component in somewhere else. Let me show you.
Yeah.
If I use this counter component in somewhere else, like it will work in the single browser also. It will work independently as a single component. If I navigate to here, the value will be the same. Value won't be changed. That means this won't affect the although I'm using the same component, this is not a global value. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to use like I can't pass from this value to here. So what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do is in
It's like
the
having a global singleton variable
yeah
or a
yeah
singleton service for the page, right? For the entire
yeah
page.
for the page, for the entire page. Yeah.
Good.
So for that, let's create an event. And then inside this function, let's so in our project we can inject the service and use this method, use the event we declare. In here. Since we have to pass a value, uh, just pass a random value. The value So you can see that we have to do something. So we have to add a, when we do a change, we have to add a, we have to do a subscribe to this change event. So for that, uh, this sorry, I'm writing it inside this. Okay, for that we have to do call this on initialized method. This is a part of the Blazor life cycle. That means you can, that's why we have to override this. So from this method you can, that means when the component is loaded, this method would be executed first. So so we can subscribe to that event we created using just subscribe to this for this state as changed. That means that will re-render the page when something changed. The state of the component changed, it will be re-rendered. So, and also we do unsubscribe to. For that we, that means we have to subscribe and both do the unsubscribe also. For that we have to I disposal, then we do the same thing. So that means since we are using, so from this Blazor page, we are using this service. So from that service, we are calling this reduce temperature method. So what this method does is it reduces the temperature by the value given, and it invoke this on-change action. So we need that on-change action because of this state we have to re-render when a change is occurred. So that's why we are declining this on-change action and calling this when a change occurs. So now you can see the value is reduced. So you can use the same value in here. So you can see that the data is sort of shared, and you can using this service method, you can inject it wherever you want and use it. So if I use it in here, instead of this value, and we can also pass this value or use it directly from there. So then we have to subscribe to that state change method. So the idea is just we use a common service overall the project, and use that inside our pages. So now it's working. So I showed you some basic stuffs what we can do using Blazor. So we can do a lot of things using Blazor. It's pretty convenient while using this. So So today we looked at these things, the components in Blazor, how we do data binding and event binding, and parameter passing and event callback, and the services. These are some basic stuffs, some basic things in Blazor. So we can do a lot of things like we can easily do authentication and page handling like things, and we can easily and we can work with JavaScript and Blazor together also. So when you need that flexibility in JavaScript, or when you need uh, something that when there is something that we can do easily using JavaScript, we can use that inside our application also. So that's very convenient. So so this web assembly Blazor was released last year, and now they have Blazor PWA. That means we can this is web-based project. So in here, what they are doing is they have app. They also can have built desktop apps using Blazor, which can work online and offline. So it's compatible with modern browser APIs, and it has the capabilities to work like a desktop app. So that's the newest thing in Blazor, and also you can go up to hybrid level, and you can do mobile applications, desktop applications, and web applications using Blazor. So that's it about today's presentation. If you have any questions, please ask.